SCB Global is more than just a collaboration company. We are connecting businesses around the world with one conversation at a time. Welcome to the Team Me Up podcast.
Hello. Welcome to the Team Me Up podcast. This is your host, Nabeel Mahmood with SCB Global. Today, I've got Gino, one of my favorite guys on the podcast. Gino, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I know we actually have an opportunity to interact on a lot of different levels, personally and professionally, and what a wonderful platform to get you engaged. Let's start with you. I mean, I've known you forever. And the interesting thing about this relationship that you and I have had is that I was your customer, you were my customers, we have worked together, and now we're working together again. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So could you share your background at a very high level with our audience?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if I may say, it's been a privilege to, have worked with you, Nabeel. You're just a phenomenal individual, somebody that is very near and dear to my heart. You're just fantastic and phenomenal in every way, shape, or form I can imagine. If people have the privilege to get to know you, I think this is a great way to do it. So thank you for having me here. It's an honor and a privilege, like I said. But to tell you a little bit about me and where I've been and my background, for some reason, I've been a curious creature my entire life. And I always have that knack for technology. I actually said when I was a kid, I didn't want to do anything with computers. I wanted to keep it all very simple, very traditional, pen and paper. If you can't do it in your head, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyways. And here I am where I guess just wanting to understand how things work and how things are possible. And early on in my career, I started in mobility with Sprint. Even before that, in the military, actually setting up CDMA networks out in the field. I really wanted to understand how things work and why you needed, AC versus DC power. And then I wanted to understand why that actually generated a 0 and a 1 and a binary code that actually translated into some magical wording and maybe some voice or something to that effect. And I always wanted to, kind of understand how that works. So from one thing to the other, I started in telecommunications, moved on to software on the network, which is CDN. And during my time at Limelight, we started developing a lot of software, right? So we were solving some of the toughest problems for some of the largest companies we know that are reshaping the way we live our lives and we do business today, such as Apple, Microsoft, and many others. Really at the cutting edge of technology. And it came to a realization that, it is all about solving problems, right? It's really having the curiosity, the understanding that, if somebody else can solve the problem, maybe I can even solve it better. Why don't you let me try it? Give me a shot and a shout to do it. And that's how it kind of got into, IT and telecommunications. And, I had done anything under the sun from a telecommunications and software perspective. And a recruiter called me out of the blue and got me into data centers. And that's when we met. Of course,
it wasn't me.
So, and, I had the privilege of working, with phenomenal people like you and some of the folks that I've had a great pleasure of, getting their tutelage, like David Dunn at H5 Data Centers and Michael Ortiz now at Layer 9 Data Centers and some other folks that I've, really look up to and had a great experience with. And here we are. So now with SCB, really championing the way we're communicating, really at the core of how everything happens today, right? So, I mean, people may take for granted how much our communication influences the way we live and do things today, and how it's going to reshape the future.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the introduction. One thing that I don't think I'd say enough. Thank you for your service. Thank you for um, giving us the opportunity to live the way we live in America. So very, very appreciative of that. I mean, you were a major part of that, and you being a service vet, that's near and dear to us. Thank you. For the listeners over here, I just want to make it very clear. The level of diversity that Gino has got, from grid to chip to connectivity to the packets of voice and data thereof, is very critical in any conversation that we have, because he's got a very broad understanding of how voice and data moves around the networking globally. So, when Gino came on board as our director of sales in running the Americas, that was actually one of the key selling points, really, that he understands technology in and out, and he can not only just bring forth the business case, but also communicate with the executive management and understand the use case as to why you need what you need. So kudos, Gino. I want to talk a little bit about SCB and the US markets. It's right around COVID when things got a little nuts. Could you share your experience as it entails to what we have been up to, and any particular sectors that you've seen excel more than others? And third, but not the least question is, where do you think the future of collaboration communication is heading from what you're seeing in the industry?
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting question. So from a unified communications perspective, I think the world kind of adopted that model through mobility early on, right? Because you were able to text, and then you were able to message, and then you were able to make a phone call, right? So kind of your mobile device became the center of your world, the connected center of your world, right? So it kind of becomes of like a neuron in your brain that is actually communicating in multiple fashions across a very complex network of brain cells, right? So having, been in this area for, a number of years, I can tell you that there's never been a more exciting time to be in the industry, just because what we've done in order to be able to get here is actually lift a lot of physical infrastructure that most people take for granted. I mean, people don't understand perhaps that there is, SONET networks, and there are multiple codecs and codification that actually happens on the fly, not including transmuxing and transcoding in different fashions, in order to be able to come to a common area and be able to have a conversation in multiple platforms all at the same time. And that convergence has proven to be sort of where the industry is going, right? Everything is kind of evolving in a way that is more efficient. And then again, it is more conducive to the level of communications we want to achieve. But going into the future, that is you're right, it's going to change, right? I think, phone numbers are going to go away. We're definitely going to become an orchestrator at SCB. I think early on when I started with SCB, we had a lot of different products in place. I think we've become more of a solutions provider where, we really look at our customers' business, try to understand it in a way that perhaps our competitors don't, and really help them solve those problems that perhaps others are just wanting to offer something out of the box, and not really getting to understanding and really, developing something new that potentially could be a use case for other customers, that it may take some effort, but it might not take as much effort as say relocating a data center.
Yeah.
That's a different animal altogether. It really becomes, sort of the convergence and the orchestration of communication in a way that is conducive to tomorrow's business, irrespectively of, a phone number, an email address, or what have you. It will become some sort of an identifier that will give you the ability to move more swiftly among, in between and across multiple platforms anywhere in the world, in whatever language.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. I mean, as far as our global play is concerned, I mean, since you've started, the initial focus was just the Americas, and now it's really more of a global play. And I see, as an organization, we've got a widespread of about 182 countries reach. What's your global strategy as it entails to reaching out to customers? Are there particularly any sectors that we're looking at that we are very, very solid in? And could you talk a little bit about the diversity of our clients, and what channels do you feel are the best for us to reach out to those sectors?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think starting with the channel and the master agent model, that has been paramount in our success of reaching the market, whether it's been in North America, the Americas, and the rest of the world. I think the reach that we get from those relationships is second to none. And it's paramount that we double down on that model in order to be able to continue to really engage where we bring the most value, right? Because having been in sales and direct sales my entire career, you're always knocking at somebody's door, wishing that you would have the best solution available for their problem. But in all honesty, may not always been the same. I mean, in our mind, our products is always going to be the best, so we're going to be a little biased as to, where should a customer go. Whereas what we're doing today in the way that we differentiate in the marketplace, whether it's in the United States, whether it's in Latin America, whether it's in the world, whether it's in a regulated market, which we seem to be very, very attractive to your point of, where we having the most impact. I think I have a history of dealing with regulated markets, and I gravitate towards that because it's very exact, it's very easy to really predict what is ahead of us. There aren't as many incognitas as if we are engaging out of markets that are more less predictable, right? So in those markets that are less predictable, and those verticals that are less predictable, that's where we differentiate. That's where we've been so successful, is because we've been able to modulate, what we offer in a way that is consumable, irrespectively whether it's a regulated market or perhaps some more traditional markets such as retail, or something more flexible such as, call it a non-for-profit, for example, right? Where, it's a different way of transacting, right? So we've been able to engage anywhere in the world because we are licensed in 65 countries today, and that we're a CLEC and in those countries. So we are actually the service provider, and we're going to continue to grow that number. And because we have this flexible mindset and the way we develop solutions, we've been able to expand and actually deliver, for example, Microsoft Teams in 182 countries. So from that perspective, yeah, that's really where we've been, where we're going, and thanks to the leadership of Saif and yours and Shams, we're going to continue to plow that field in many shapes and form. I mean, we're growing exponentially, right? And I kudos to management for making the right calls and hiring me.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, we've got a lot of history, and I'm excited that you're actually a part of the team and driving the change. On just that note, I'll say kudos to you for building a team and creating an environment which is personal. I absolutely enjoy every bit of the culture that you've actually enforced, not just within the sales organization, but helped us develop and nurture globally, that we are not just teammates. It's really more about being family. So thank you for driving that for all of us. And I'll tell you just from personal experiences, the few calls that I've been on, I am absolutely loving every bit of the differentiator that we have set forth, whereby it's not just about selling a product or a service. I really admire the fact that every individual in this organization is willing to spend the quality time to understand the business case and present a solution that best fits our clients' needs so we can scale up with them, right? So good job. Keep up the good work. And thank you for joining today at the Team Me Up podcast. Thank you very much, Gino.
Team me up, Scotty.
Join the revolution. Find out more at scb-global.com.